Good afternoon.
I'll respond. Good afternoon. I think that's Cordell.
Yep, Eddie. How you doing, buddy?
Good afternoon.
Well. Hello, how are you? Happy holidays.
James, are you still there?
Yes.
Okay, I don't see it in committee room B yet.
Hi, Cordell. This is Ken Chalker. Hope you're well.
Hey, Ken, how you doing, buddy? I just saw that email. Thank you.
Laura, I'm seeing it on my phone, so you should be good to go.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yep, there we are. Okay.
How you doing, Laura?
Hi there, everyone. Good afternoon.
Hi, Nayla.
Hi.
How you doing, Naila?
It looks like it's 3 o'clock. Why don't we give it a minute or so more for people to join, if that's okay with the chair, and then I'll get started.
Yes, that works.
I'm going to get started. Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Based on who I see on Zoom, it appears that we have a quorum, and I'm now going to begin with roll call. Eddie Taylor?
Present.
Danielle Sidnor?
Present.
Stephen Cavanis?
Here.
Heidi Gillette?
Here.
Randy McShepard?
Present.
Habiba Grimes?
Present.
India Pierce Lee?
Present.
Phyllis Harris? Okay. Reverend Chalker?
Here.
Rabbi Caruso? Rabbi?
I'm here. Present.
Okay. Hi there. Levine Ross?
Present.
Yanela Sims?
Here.
Marcia Maccabee? Marcia? Okay. Cordell Stokes?
Yeah.
And we have previously heard, or I have previously heard, that Sheila Wright, Janice Contreras, and Victor Ruiz are not going to be able to join us today, so they will be noted as excused absences. We're going to move on to our moment of silence and reflection. I'd like to take a moment to offer reflections upon the lives of the 120 babies who died during their first year of life in Cuyahoga County in 2019. While the majority of children born in Cuyahoga County are white, the number of Black babies dying each year is vastly disproportionate. In 2019, Black babies accounted for only 38% of births, but they accounted for 73% of infant deaths. Furthermore, while the infant mortality rate has slowly declined for white babies, the rate of infant death in Ohio's Black community remains extremely high. In 2018, Cuyahoga County had the second highest infant mortality rate of large Ohio counties. A report issued by the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found Black women's babies died at a rate of 10.97 per 1,000 births, more than twice the rate for white, Asian, and Hispanic women. Institutional racism plays a part in the long-standing birth inequalities, as well as maternal health and infant death. toxic stress associated to racism has been shown to contribute to conditions such as hypertension and preeclampsia, which both increase the risk of premature birth and its complications, the largest contributors to infant death. Programs such as First Year Cleveland are committed to addressing implicit bias and racism in all the county systems that serve, house, and care for Black women to effect long-term change. Let's all take a moment of silence and reflect upon the infants whose lives were lost and the grief experienced by the parents who lost their babies. Thank you. I'm going to move on to the public comment section. Since our last meeting, we have not received any public comments submitted via the email to the equity@cuyahogacounty.us mailbox. Executive Budish, I see that you're on our Zoom call. Would you like to open this meeting with some comments, please?
Sure. It's good to see all of you, especially during this busy holiday season. I want to thank you again for your commitment to this very significant, very important effort that we're undertaking here. I've been keeping in regular contact with Nayla. She fills me in on all the great work that you're doing in committees and otherwise. And I've consulted with her about some of the initiatives we in county government are taking, which I would be happy to go through at whatever time it becomes appropriate. So thank you again for all you're doing, and please keep it up.
Thank you, Executive Budish. I'd like also to take a moment to acknowledge that Phyllis Harris has joined. I believe Phyllis has joined the Zoom call. Phyllis, you've joined, correct?
Yes, thank you.
Welcome. Yes. Moving on in our agenda, Chair Taylor, would you like to address the council, or would you prefer to delve right into the new business?
I think we should dive right in, but I would certainly like to hear County Executive Budish highlights of some of these initiatives that you're working on. You don't have to go through in detail, but if there's a highlight reel, that would be great to hear what the overarching topics are or subjects might be.
Sure. I'll just touch on a couple. The disparity study came out, as you all know. We have been working on, I've been working with a whole group here in the county on creating, I think we're up to about 4 or 5 executive orders that will be ready to go, hopefully in the next, probably early next week, which will get started on the implementing the recommendations of the disparity study. We recently announced the diversion center designed to divert people with mental illness and addiction out of the criminal justice system and into a program where they can be treated in an appropriate setting, not in the jail, keeping them from getting a criminal record and helping them become productive members of the community. In the COVID crisis, a lot of what we've been doing has been significantly impacting minorities. We did a 3rd round of the small business funding, which in the first 2 rounds, I think it was about half of the funds went to minority-owned small businesses. We have put additional money into the arts and culture funds, which again supports a great number of individual artists who disproportionately have been minorities. So, you know, and that could go on, but, you know, those are some of the highlights of what we've done just in recent days.
Those are the great highlights, and obviously it also speaks to the commitment, not only in terms of people and personnel and decision-making, but the resources committed as well, mainly financial. So thank you. It'll be interesting at some point, County Executive Budish, we know there will be a return. It would be great to see. We know there are quality of life issues around arts and culture, but investments in businesses that remain in a pattern of struggle. All of those things will be interesting to see how impactful, because we know it is, but how impactful those funds will be, or we know they are rather. So.
And your focus on funds is certainly appropriate. I put into a budget revision for 2021, which was just passed last week, I believe, by County Council. We included $500,000 for the Equity Committee and Commission. So. Hopefully, some additional resources.
Good. Well, we all heard it, so thank you, the executive board.
It's in there. I can't take it back.
we all. Any other questions for the county executive before we move on? Thank you, Heidi, for the thumbs up. Okay.
Cordell, do you have a question? No. Okay.
No, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I thought you did.
All right.
Eddie, with your
sir.
permission, can I approve the minute? Can I make?
Yeah,
can
let's
I
ask for.
the minutes?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Prior to today's meeting, the minutes were distributed from the November 30th meeting. I believe they were distributed to each of you on December 10th. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as distributed?
I move for approval of the minutes as distributed.
I have the motion made by member Randy McShepard. Is there a second?
Second, India Lee.
Thank you. All of those, is there a discussion on the minutes from anyone? Seeing and hearing no discussion, all those in favor of approving the minutes as distributed, please signify by saying aye.
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 Are there any opposed? Okay, seeing none, the motion carries and the minutes are accepted. Next, as discussed during our prior meeting, the primary purpose of today's meeting is to discuss the status of the council's report, which is due to County Council and the executive on December 31st of this year. Chair Taylor, I'll turn this portion of the meeting over to you to go through, please.
All right, thank you. And as mentioned, this is a relatively short meeting designed for the purpose of making certain that we are all updated and the community has a view as well into where we are in the process, the work completed. While we won't dive into all the particulars, I think it would be appropriate for the subcommittee chairs to begin with, including all the conversations we've had around communications, Phyllis, to give an update in terms of where you are, and for you in particular, Phyllis, what's ahead as we think about next steps in this process. So let's do that, if you don't mind, Ms. Harris. We'll start with you in terms of the work that in so many ways is foundational around the effort, and that is the communications, both the communications we've gotten from the community at large, in addition to all the good work done by the county and its staff, and then what we're going to project to all the external folks who are interested in hearing what we have to say.
Thank you. So our committee, the Communications Subcommittee, is really committed to ensuring that all county residents and those who do business receive services with the county, get this information. So are aware of the report and have an opportunity to review the report and what we're seeing. So from everywhere from being intentional about specific groups who are most affected by structural racism, Black people, Latinx folks, Asian folks, Native American residents, county employees who also are included and we don't want to overlook in terms of some of the challenges throughout, every group that we can think of, churches and temples, individuals who submitted public comments. We've heard from the Ohio Coalition, the Ohio Collective. We've heard from I can't think of it right now, legal aid group. We've heard for housing supports, advocacy groups, and we'll continue to listen to individuals about some of the challenges and the work that they're already doing, and so that they can see this report and disseminate it. We have a press release that will go out at the top of the year on January 6th, Wednesday, January 6th. We have our website that is live now, but also we'll have language that will attract people to the website. We'll disseminate the information about if you have access to internet. We're thinking about who doesn't have access to internet. So we will publish the report on the site. Our social media efforts will also begin January 6th and will be ongoing. We're targeting ads on Facebook and looking at demographics there. We're using Instagram for our millennials and Gen Zs who like that type of information, and so that they can understand what's going on. All of this has a jumping off point of January 6th and going on to throughout the week. There will be a newsletter the week of January 11th. There will be a newsletter pitched to other partner organizations. And so like I work for a nonprofit and we all have newsletters and we all like to fill up the inboxes. And so this will be one of the newsletters that we hope will go to the top of inboxes or will be disseminated in the newsletters of local nonprofits so that they can get to their constituents. Major media orgs, radio stations. We have some great, we had a great idea. And this committee is teaching me about how to get things done quickly, but with also paying attention to the details. And so there will be public meetings. We've gotten connected with Dan Malthrop for the City Club for a virtual forum that will take place. The public meetings, 1 to 2 sessions that will allow residents to explicitly respond to the report. So it's not a report that you'll just get, and we expect to hear from you. So there will be opportunity to respond from the report to the report. Internal communications, again, happening January 6th. The In the Know, the My HR, the intranet communications, department email. I don't want to keep reading to you all. It's really comprehensive in terms of both internally with the county and externally to our stakeholders and partners. I'm happy to answer questions about much more or to share. I think it's important to be transparent because we want people to know about how we're thinking about communications around this, and so to even share our communications plans for folks who are interested in it.
Any question? Any questions at all for Phyllis?
Have a communications plan? If not, we'll get it to you.
All right. So certainly a great deal going on. Some of the public outreach in terms of what we're going to do with how this is presented and additional comments are solicited from the community is still in formation, but we're excited because this is an ambitious plan. We just have details that have to be worked out. So I should say that as well. But it's ambitious, and I think it certainly is nothing other than supportive of all the great work that's been done. So thank you very much, Phyllis. And thank you to your committee and to Eliza and her team as well for supporting this work. All right, here's the point I think where we should talk not only about what the subcommittees have done, but also create an expectation, if you will, for the community. I'm so very proud, I would say profoundly proud of the work that's been done by all the subcommittees to this point. We have great input from county personnel, great input from the community, great input from each other. We know that this is, and you've heard me say it, not the final edition of this work, but it's an important and meaningful first step. So much of what will be articulated in the writings that will come out from this group by the end of this year, or to at least county council and the county executive, I think goes to the heart of sort of trying to identify issues and where appropriate, making certain recommendations. these recommendations will be adjusted, they will grow, they will be tweaked. But I say, and I mean it, this is a great first step for this work. So if nothing else, once again, thank you to everyone in the community, but especially to the work of this council for getting us to this point, and to Naila and Laura in particular, of course, for keeping us on task. So thank you. We've got obviously more to come, but this couldn't be a more impressive first step in my view. With that,
Eddie, if I may, Chair Taylor, I apologize. If I may, just so the minutes can appropriately reflect, Marcia Maccabee has joined our call. Welcome, Marcia.
Good afternoon, Marcia. And because we are in draft form, we're going to just hear from the committees themselves, beginning with the leadership of those committees, just to talk about where they are and what we might expect. Mr. McShepard, you probably knew it, but you're going first. And you probably have just the belief that that's always the case.
What am I doing exactly, Chairman?
Just updating us on where you are with your report and some of the, you can deal with findings, but as much as anything else, what the expectations might be, given what we'll see.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me first of all share the sentiments of Chairman Taylor. I had the privilege of reading all of the reports that were submitted by each of the subcommittees, and I simply say bravo, thank you. There's been a lot of time. No one took this lightly. A lot of great ideas, recommendations. I think we can look back over just a few months' time and be proud of the fact that we clearly have identified many issues that probably could keep us busy for the next year or so already with what we've uncovered. So congrats to all and all of you for your good work. The Equitable Quality of Life Subcommittee, like the others, submitted a preliminary report where we list obviously the aims of our committee, some of the dire statistics affecting quality of life in the county, and a list of all the interviews that we've had with county leadership. I will say, looking back, that I am very excited that we decided to start with county leadership, because I think it really helps us to understand the gravity of the situation, the pros and the cons of what's happening at the county, how these departments are run, where their work intersects with the community at large. And it just at least for me, it gave me a lot of context around not just what's going on, but why certain things happen the way that they do, and also helped us to sort of highlight or target some particular areas of focus for continued work. But we document all the folks that we listed. We also came up with some preliminary findings. Some of these may sound like I'm stating the obvious, but I think for the record, it's important that we felt that we shared some of those findings, which includes things like, it's no secret, and other committees reference the fact that there's a lot of disparity as it relates to racial and equity training amongst the various county departments. And it's kind of hard to know as a county where you want to go and how you get there if every department is going about this work differently. Some have had extensive training, some have had no training, some have had a little in between. Many departments are using different consultants, which means there's different training curriculums, which means, you know, you're opening the door for a lot of inconsistencies. So we believe that it would behoove the county to sort of rein in some type of a strategy for comprehensive racial equity training across the board that, in fact, you know, brings much more consistency amongst the departments, so that as they talk to each other across the different department lines, they're still singing from the same hymnal, essentially. So that was one big one. Also, no secret, no surprise that, in my estimation, far too many of the leaders in the county were white, especially white males. We need more people of color. I think the county government should be reflective of who it serves. And there may be obviously lots of reasons for that, but I think we have to be deliberate in our work and as a county to do all that we can to ensure that people of color are in the pipeline for advancement and given a shot to lead some of the various departments and the work of those departments. Something that I've sort of paid attention to that we also included in our report is a need for, there's a reference in the resolution or legislation that talks about strategic plans or, federal, state, grant seeking. I think that there needs to definitely be a robust strategy around seeking state and federal support. The county budget is finite. I'm sure that the executive would be the first to stress that point. And the needs are great. And, there's so many issues facing Cleveland and Northeast Ohio where we're #1 on all these terrible lists. And that means that we need more resources. And certainly if we want to be innovative and try new things, we need even more resources. So I think that, and our committee thinks that we should explore ways to better leverage state and federal resources. Not that some county departments haven't done it, but I think I'm trying to state that there needs to be a strategic plan, if you will, that sort of gets all departments together to sort of talk about what those needs are and to go about that work collectively. There's more. I won't take up a lot of time. I guess the template asks us to also offer some actionable recommendations. We offer several from our committee, including possibly leveraging the Office of Innovation to have data analyst positions, because a lot of our subcommittees all talked about metrics and the fact that there's a lot of data that we need. The better we can understand and track data, the more likely we'll be able to better understand and address a lot of the challenges that the county faces. So, who's sort of has that role of responsibility? We felt that since there's already a Department of Innovation, that perhaps you could add a couple of positions that do nothing but look at racial equity disparities and track the data from department to department and feed that information back not only to county leadership, but also to this group to be, so that we're always looking at real-time data, and that will help us to maybe better track or better develop strategies to address the work. We also, because we are quality of life and we're talking about quality of life in communities, one thing that we suggested that really made a lot of sense to me when I started to, think about our notes or discussions with departments like Public Works. There's a lot of money spent in Public Works. When you think about roads and bridges, oftentimes communities of color aren't necessarily top of mind for those kinds of investments, but it means a lot to the way those communities sustain themselves, the pride of a community, the promise of a community. If you're a small business owner, you want your thoroughfare to be paid or to be, in the queue for some type of infrastructure development. So I think that, or we think that there needs to be more of a comprehensive strategy that brings, housing and transportation, public works infrastructure, even things like digital divide. All of that can really be a part of a strategy, which is why one of our aspirations is that the county might consider appointing a cabinet position that would focus on equitable quality of life. So that was one of our big aspirations that I will leave with you. There's a lot more in our report. Don't want to take up any more time because I want everyone else to be able to have a chance, but hopefully that is the kind of summary that the chairman was looking for. And it's been a fun activity, and I give a lot of kudos to my colleagues on the committee for their great work, and I'll stop there.
That's great, Randall, and if anyone else on the committee would like to offer their thoughts, that would be welcomed as well. I would say, and I'm going to repeat it after every committee report, so much of this is in draft, not so much, this is entirely in draft form at this point. The words are, obviously they're words, but the writing is still being developed, still unfolding, and still in draft form. So we can't necessarily show or release anything at this point because it's still in process. But the ideas, I would say, are well formed at this point. So thank you for that, Mr. McShepard. And if anyone else on the committee has something they'd like to offer, that'd be great, briefly.
Just to say it was a great process of learning and getting to hear directly from the interviewees, and I think people are going to learn a lot. And there won't be a lot of surprises, but definitely some innovative ways of thinking, coming to solutions.
Great.
Thank you. Eddie?
Yes, sir.
If I could just add, I appreciate the report from Randall. That's great. If you're still doing work on some of those things, you might want to follow. The data idea is great, and I'm 100% with you on that. You might want to have somebody talk to Allegheny County. I've had lengthy conversations with, they're just Pittsburgh, had lengthy conversations with folks there. They have a department of data research analysis. We have our little innovation office, which didn't even exist a few years ago. They have, I believe, 40 people working in it. So it's, and what they are able to do is mind-boggling. So you're exactly right on your angle that you're looking at. And I'd love to do more, you know, it's a matter of resources again, but you might follow up with them. I think that'll give you some more ideas to put in your report. And one other point I would make is your point about a lot of money goes into road work, bridge work, and people don't think about that from an equity standpoint. But, you know, a road, if it looks like, you know, if it looks like it's been bombed and, you know, and you can't get anywhere with it, it impacts so much in the community, you know, the way people think of a community, and impacts access to jobs and you know, all kinds of things. So in the last, just a few weeks ago, when our road and bridge team came to me with this year's projects, we talked a lot about how do we do more introducing an equity lens. And so we've, in that case, it was already, the jobs were picked. We added like 3 or 4 major jobs based on poverty index for different communities. So we're on that track as well. We've been talking to the drafters of the disparity study to find out what we can do. We'd like to create equity zones as part of the road and bridge analysis. They're hopefully going to help us figure out what's legal to do. So again, I appreciate it. Yeah, you're right on. Your points are all good. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you both. Let's move to Heidi, if you wouldn't mind, just a couple of moments on where you are, what you.
Sure.
Keen is.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair Taylor. So actually a lot of what you just heard is similar to what we were finding. There is a lot of overlap between all of these areas. They're all interconnected. And so it's really been quite valuable to have this series of, you know, nearly 30 interviews and community engagement opportunities to hear different perspectives on the same issues, and to think about cross-cutting systems level ways that we can start addressing these issues. So from a health and healthcare perspective, in addition to participation in the common ground and the interviews, we also reviewed all of the data from the Cuyahoga County Health Assessments, which started in 2013. And we've been able to look at hospital data and public health data, and then a lot of quality of life surveys that were done in the context of health and healthcare. And so with all of the analysis of all of those kinds of data, we were able to prepare a draft of recommendations following a similar outline to all of the other subcommittees, and put forth some recommendations which are really, from my estimation, low-hanging fruit, things that we can reasonably expect to happen in the 2021, early part of 2021. And then we put together scaffolds, sort of looking at the next phases of else we need to talk to better understand what else we should recommend from a health and healthcare perspective. And that includes hospital health system leadership, as well as leaders of many initiatives that are addressing racial equity in health, which also came up in other subcommittee drafts. So again, you see this interconnectedness. So I'm really so grateful for our committee and everyone taking an opportunity to share their perspective and help shape the recommendations we have, and also to shape the path by which we go into 2021. So I'm happy to share very specific things if you desire, but I'm, in the interest of time, I will give that general overview, and I'm really so grateful for everyone's commitment, and also really looking forward to the community seeing specifics that we are able to put forth in the report that we present to County Council.
Great. Any questions of Heidi? You only have to hear me say it 2 more times after this. This is in draft form. Okay.
And I just wanted to say, if there are any members of the committee that wanted to share their input, please, by all means, jump in.
Okay. All right, great. Stephen, how about you? You go next.
Let me take myself off mute. Yeah, so, again, don't want to repeat what Randy, some of what Heidi shared, but certainly want to first thank, County Executive, his leadership team, for just being available quickly, all right, to help inform this process. Certainly want to thank, Eddie for chairing this effort, and my fellow subcommittee chairs for the hard work you put in. And I did sort of scan through the draft form, if you will, and I think it definitely reflects all of the time and effort and thoughtfulness and intentionality we've put through this process. Also, to my subcommittee members, thank you for your time and your commitment for this. I would say that, for the Economic Development Subcommittee, really, like everyone else, this has been a discovery process, and really want to highlight that in the report. I think that, there's some areas of our work that is a bit more mature. I'll say that procurement, there's more data around that. I think, with the disparity study, it allowed us to at least be more comfortable coming up with some recommendations. And certainly we're looking forward to the executive orders that are going to follow, I guess, our release in January. And there are some areas that I believe the county is already involved in, right, that we felt they could build on, and certainly highlighted that. And then there's also areas that we felt that we could maybe do a little bit more due diligence and figure out if there's opportunities that we can sort of leverage across the entire county, particularly in the education space, and figure out how the county could be a stronger leader, partner in that effort to close disparities in that space. Moving forward, certainly think 2021 is going to be a period of further discovery, really trying to determine maybe some long-term strategies around our work, and also really look at the vision. I mean, it's taken 400 years to get to this point, right? We're not going to solve this tomorrow, but we definitely want to take action, and we want to act with urgency. And so, I think that there should be some visioning exercise that goes along with this. And so where do we see ourselves? What's the ideal state in what we're trying to accomplish here? And so that, I think, from a theme standpoint, that's sort of what we wanted to capture in our work. So, yes.
Thank you, Stephen. Anyone else on the committee? Any thoughts or comments? Okay, great. India, criminal justice.
So like the others have I think, discovered that there's a lot of disparities around racial equity training and the needs. The only thing I would add to that is that as the county thinks about the training, that it will be incumbent that all staff, starting at the top leadership, are required to go through the racial equity training, whatever the recommendation is, on down, because it's not going to help unless everybody is speaking the same language, understands the ramifications of that work, and have invested in it at the highest level. Our committee, and I would like to thank our committee, which is Reverend Chalker, Rabbi Caruso, and Cordell Stokes. We did the interviews like others and learned a lot about the system, some great things that are going on within the system, but areas that I think we've all, interlinked across all of our areas around data collection. And we, like others, have made some initial recommendations based on what we've found around the information gathering, the need to address the inequities in hiring practices, recruitment and training, looking at bail reform as it's taken place, but there's some areas that we can really do some, I think, much more work around, as well as the county jail. As an aspiration, like the other committees, the aspiration for the entire CAC would be, to see that we have a racially diverse citizenry, that not only here in the county, but how people are affected as a result of it. And, we have a lot more work to be done. I think over the next 6 months, we want to spend more time digging in deeper, working with the other committees to see the interrelation between our recommendations, the overlap, and some of the areas that maybe the county can look at consolidating some of the training and leadership and ensuring that there's accountability around how that is taken out. And I'd ask if any other members from the committee would like to say anything. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Madam Chair. County Exec, this is Cordell. Happy holidays to you. I did want to ask you on the diversion program. Did that include youth? I wanted to wait until we did our subcommittee reports. Did that include youth, or is that strictly adult oriented?
I don't believe there's any age restrictions. It's designed to enable the police to, first of all, train the police. There'll be a training program component where we'll train every police officer, hopefully in the county, and we'll be providing a 24/7 phone line as well as part of that, where they can call in real time and ask any questions about somebody who they've stopped on the street or who they've been called to help. I don't think there's any age limits on that. There may be different things that have to be done for somebody who's a youth, because I'm not sure that because you're not compelled to go to the diversion center. It's an option for someone, and I don't know if you can give a 14-year-old person that kind of option. Parents, family might have to be involved. So it's designed primarily for adults in mind, but there's nothing in the rules that restrict it by age.
Okay, well, thank you very much. So, India, as we continue to move along out of our subcommittee, I think that the aspirations that I outlined were very specific, that we really need to be able to really focus on youth in their arena and adults, because when we did have our interviews with the various judges, in particular Judge Early, they found that the municipal system became almost where they can't handle social and mental issues, and they needed some outlet. So I think that this needs to really be a very rigorous and very detailed, deliberate type of diversion program for both training for police and as outlined about correction officers, et cetera. I think that it'll be interesting over the next 6 months how we get very specific, because we can't keep chipping around the edges. We have to get down and dirty into this business, because in alignment with what's going to transpire at the federal level, if Biden and his administration are able to put together something, hold both the police officers accountable in various ways that we've all probably monitored through the news. Youth really have to have an outlet of their own, and I think that out of our subcommittee, some of this information will come out, but we got to quit playing games, and we have to really drill down into these two arenas for both adult in their world and youth into their world, including the binding situation that we have outlined in our report. But I do commend you, County Exec, and all of the other members for your attempt to look into this diversion program. Then also out of our report, we have to look at that heavy training that may be at a certified level for both director level and staff, but not in the same, and keep it very distinct. And that'll be something forthcoming out of our committee that's outlined as well, in my opinion.
If I might just add on the youth piece that you were talking about. So there's two programs, the diversion program will be partnering with many others in the community, existing programs or soon to be existing programs. So one is, you may have read that Metro Health is investing in a new, I would say, a mental health and addiction hospital facility out in Cleveland Heights. It's going to be a significant program. I think they have something like 200 beds, and 10 beds at least are devoted specifically to youth in that program. And we've contributed as a county $5 million to help that begin. In addition, Belfair, Jewish Children's Bureau out on the east side just created a facility for mental health and addiction as well, and that is solely for youth. So there are things happening that are responsive to your concerns there.
Also, I would just add for the folks on the live stream, and Chair Taylor and I and Subcommittee Chair India Pearsley and I have talked about after the new year having a meeting with Brandy Carney, who is, I believe her title is Chief of Special Projects. And Brandy has agreed to meet with the committee when time permits, and she was, along with Chief of Staff Bill Mason, very instrumental in setting up the diversion center and entering into the contract for the county. I worked on that with the two of them, as well as some other folks, including Chief of Public Safety Bob Corey and some of the judges, and Matt Carroll was in that as well in some of those meetings, and of course the county executive. So I think Brandy will bring to light more of the issues surrounding the diversion center. That is a big win, as Executive Buddhist talked about, for diverting folks away from the jail to get treatment that they so well need.
Thank you for that, Naila, and thank you, Mr. Stokes, as well, for your comments. And what it reminds us, or at least should remind us of, is that so many of these good ideas were already in place or being considered before our work started. So we won't have answers for it all, because good efforts have been underway, but we certainly can monitor and have some ability to make certain that they are fulfilling the promises that they've made in our community. So I think that is the existence of this council in and of itself can prove helpful in that respect. So thank you for the work done, and thank you, Mr. Stokes, for the comments made. But I see our role on a number of different facets. Any questions? Oh, I didn't say it. Mr. Cavanis and Ms. Pearsley, both of those comments were preliminary and in draft form. So you need to hear that as well as we go forward. All right. Any other thoughts or comments from council members who haven't had a chance to weigh in at this point? All righty. Well, other than
Here, Taylor, I think it looked like one of our fellow members was speaking on mute.
oh, I'm sorry.
Reverend, were you trying to share?
No, I'm sorry, I was muted. There are lots of people who wish they could mute me. I did it on my own. Chair Taylor, when you give your report, you give it right to the council at the end of the month? Is that correct?
Again, I would say everything is preliminary now, so it won't be, not everything that's been done will be put out in public until we add some touches and cleanup, which folks might expect. The council members will see the report before it goes to the public, just in final form. The county executive will see it first. The county council will see it first. That's who we have to deliver this report to. Once delivered, of course, it's public, in the public domain, but that's who we have to deliver this report to, unless I'm misspeaking in some way, Naila. That's my understanding.
That is correct. And the report, just so we all knew, the report is due according to the resolution on December 31st. And Chair Taylor has committed that it will be ready by then to go. But I think what Chair Taylor has so appropriately indicated that any sort of distribution prior to that or anything that's done prior to that due date will still be in draft form so that it can be tweaked. Correct, Chair?
We want you all to see it, right? We want you all to see where this is going, as I said to the subcommittee chairs, directionally. We want you to see and be able to comment on the content, but also the direction of this report before it's in its final form. So the answer is yes, and that will be coming your way next week, if not over the weekend, but certainly next week at the latest.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Okay, Naila, any remaining business?
The only thing I have is that we will, I assume, Chair Taylor, we will not meet again as a full council until after the new year. Is that correct?
True. That is correct. That is correct.
And so I will again send out, someone on my staff will send out a doodle poll, and we'll look to a date in sometime in January. And after that, I know the chair has committed previously, after probably the first meeting or so, to set up more regular meetings going into next year. So we'll also look to do that. Chair Taylor, do you have anything else?
No, other than to thank everyone and wish everyone a happy holiday season. Oh, you've got work to do next week. You might, yes. But happy holidays nonetheless.
So unless there's any further business to discuss, I will adjourn the meeting. But before I do that, I need to really, Laura and I have had the privilege of serving you in this capacity, and we thank the executive for, well, I thank the executive for appointing me to serve in this very important role. And I publicly need to thank my Chief of Staff, Laura Black, who works tirelessly and effortlessly on behalf of this work. And she too, as I am committed to it. So Laura, I need to very publicly thank you for your commitment and dedication. And we all know how Laura has worked. And I also want to reach to all of you, council members. I thank you for your dedication, your commitment to this extremely important work. You have much to be proud of. We've done a lot of work in a very, very, very short amount of time. So I again thank you. I hope that you and your families have a wonderful, safe, and joyous holiday season. For the subcommittee chairs, I know I will talk to you before then. To Chair Taylor, I talk to you almost every day, so I will talk to you tomorrow, if not later today. And I look forward to our continued work together in 2021. So everyone, take care and be safe. continue to, as my friend Heidi would say, continue to mask up and stay socially distanced. Right, Heidi? So everyone enjoy, and thank you again. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.